There is a liquid you can mix at home for under $1 that removes a decade of embedded road grime, brake dust, oxidized wax, grease, bird acid etching, and industrial fallout from any car surface in minutes. Not hours, not with a pressure washer, not with a clay bar, not with a $40 bottle of branded decontamination spray from the detail shop shelf. Minutes. With a foam brush and a plastic bucket. The kind of filth that has been baking into your clear coat through 10 winters of road salt and 10 summers of UV radiation. The kind of contamination that sits beneath the surface of the paint like a shadow you can feel with your fingertip when you run your hand across the hood. A roughness, a grittiness, a texture that no ordinary car wash soap ever touches because ordinary car wash soap was never formulated to touch it. A professional detail shop charges between $150 and $350 for a full decontamination and paint correction service. Dealerships charge up to $500 for what they call a deep clean reconditioning package, a full paint decontamination using branded chemical products purchased at retail costs between $60 and $120 in product alone before you touch the car. And every single one of those services, every one of those branded bottles, every detailing franchise charging you $300 for an afternoon is built on the same foundational assumption that you will never learn what the compound is, where it comes from, and what it actually costs per application when you buy it in its raw, unbranded form. $1, mixed with water in a ratio any person can remember, applied with a sponge or a cheap foam brush from the hardware store. The $15 billion automotive detailing industry in North America depends entirely on you never making that connection. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. Hit subscribe and the bell right now. This is where we crack open the vaults they welded shut. The professional automotive detailing industry did not bury this compound because it was inferior. They buried it because it was so effective, so cheap, and so completely outside their control that its widespread adoption would collapse their entire service model overnight. To understand what was suppressed and why, you first need to understand exactly how the detailing industry's revenue architecture was constructed, and how deliberately that architecture was designed to require your money on a recurring basis. The automotive detailing market in the United States generates approximately $15 billion in annual revenue. The professional service side accounts for roughly $11 billion. Detail shops, mobile detailers, dealership reconditioning departments. The remaining $4 billion flows through retail product sales, branded iron removers, tar removers, fallout removers, clay bars, and the endless specialty cleaners lining entire walls at auto parts stores. Every product category is designed around one carefully maintained belief that different contamination types require different specialty products, and that the average car owner cannot address them without professional guidance. Each bottle retails between $12 and $35. Each treatment lasts 3 to 6 months before contamination rebuilds. The customer returns, the shelf restocks, the cycle continues. The single compound that eliminates the need for every one of those specialty categories costs $1 per pound, has been commercially available since the mid-19th century, and addresses iron contamination, organic film, mineral deposits, and road particulate in a single application. It cannot be patented, cannot be distributed exclusively, and cannot generate the repeat purchase cycle that sustains a $15 billion market. That is the threat they spent decades engineering branded complexity to conceal. Now, let me take you back to where this chemistry was first put to work on metal surfaces, not in a car wash, not in a laboratory, but in the textile mills of northern England in the early 1800s, where industrial chemists faced a contamination problem that mirrors exactly what accumulates on your car's paint surface every single day you drive it. The mills of Manchester and Leeds were producing wool and cotton fabric at industrial scale, and every finished cloth carried embedded mineral deposits, iron particles shed from the processing machinery, and organic oils from the raw fibers that standard water washing could not remove. The fabric emerged from washing still contaminated, stiff, discolored, rough to the touch. Mill operators were losing entire batches of finished product to contamination they could not clean out with conventional methods. In the 1820s, mill chemists began experimenting with diluted oxalic acid solutions, a naturally occurring organic acid found in high concentrations in wood sorrel, rhubarb leaves, and spinach, as a rinse treatment for contaminated fabric. The results were immediate and dramatic. Iron particles dissolved on contact, mineral deposits released from the fiber matrix within minutes, organic film broke apart and rinsed cleanly away. A single diluted rinse with oxalic acid solution restored contaminated fabric to factory-clean condition without damaging the underlying fibers. The mill operators documented their formulas carefully, passed them between facilities, and by the 1840s, oxalic acid had become the standard industrial decontamination agent across the entire British textile industry. The chemistry was not mysterious. Oxalic acid forms soluble complexes with iron ions, a process called chelation, pulling iron contamination out of the substrate it has bonded to and carrying it away in the rinse water. The same chemistry that liberated iron particles from wool fibers in a Manchester mill in 1830 liberates iron fallout and road contamination from automotive clear coat in your driveway today. Move the story forward to the shipyards of the Clyde Valley in Scotland in the late 1800s, where naval engineers maintaining iron and steel hulls faced the same chemical challenge car owners face today: iron oxide particles, mineral deposits, and organic films bonded to metal surfaces under heat, UV exposure, and repeated wet-dry cycling. Clyde shipyard maintenance records from the 1890s, preserved in the Scottish Maritime Museum archives in Irvine, document oxalic acid wash solutions as the standard pre-painting surface preparation across multiple major shipbuilding facilities. Workers applied diluted oxalic acid to steel hull panels before every painting cycle to remove iron contamination and mineral scale that would otherwise compromise paint adhesion. The records note that treated panels required dramatically less mechanical abrasion before painting than water-washed panels alone. By the early 20th century, oxalic acid was a standard tool across railways, shipbuilding, manufacturing, and construction. Cheap, effective, universally available. Then, the automobile became the dominant consumer product of the century, and an entirely new industry grew up around maintaining its painted surface with every incentive to ensure that $1 industrial compound never appeared on a detailing label in plain language. The link to the complete Forbidden Camping Vault is in the description right now. Inside, you will find over 12 guides covering everything the industry has buried for decades. The tannic acid rust eliminator that the $400 billion auto parts industry buried for 80 years. The $1 drain compound that dissolves any clog permanently in 30 minutes. The $2 hose solar water heating system that the $6.2 billion water heater industry spent a century suppressing. The earth battery blueprint that generates real electricity from two metals in wet soil. The wood restoration formula that a $2 billion contractor industry prays you never find. The acrylic resin paint restoration compound that replaces a $5,000 respray for $3. And much more. 12 complete guides, zero filler, every page built for immediate, real-world action. The link is in the description right now, but do not go anywhere yet, because the molecular science behind how a $1 compound strips a decade of automotive contamination in minutes is the most damning thing the detailing industry never put on a product label. Here is exactly what is happening on your car's surface at the molecular level, and why this cheap compound addresses it so completely when everything the detailing industry sells you only manages it temporarily. Automotive paint contamination exists in 4 primary categories that build up simultaneously on every driven vehicle. The first is ferrous fallout. Microscopic iron particles shed by brake rotors, brake pads, rail lines, and industrial emissions that travel through the air and embed themselves into the soft, clear coat layer of your paint under heat, generated by friction. These particles oxidize in place, forming iron oxide bonds with the polymer chains of the clear coat itself. This is the contamination you feel as roughness when you run your hand across a supposedly clean panel. The second category is mineral scale. Calcium and magnesium deposits left behind when water evaporates from the paint surface, forming white haze and water spot etching that standard car wash soap cannot touch because it has no chemical mechanism to break the ionic mineral bond. The third is organic film. Road oils, exhaust residue, insect protein, and tree sap components that polymerize on the paint surface under UV exposure, forming a thin, tenacious film that dulls gloss and traps airborne particulate. The fourth is industrial fallout, a broad category of airborne chemical deposits including cement dust, rail dust, and manufacturing emissions that form composite contamination bonds across all 3 of the previous categories simultaneously. Oxalic acid in aqueous solution addresses all 4 categories through 2 distinct chemical mechanisms operating simultaneously. The first mechanism is chelation. Oxalic acid molecules bind directly to iron ions and mineral cations, forming water-soluble oxalate complexes that release their grip on the clear coat surface and rinse cleanly away in water. A 2009 study published in the Journal of Chemical Education confirmed that oxalic acid achieves complete iron-ion chelation at concentrations as low as 2% in aqueous solution, within contact times of 3 to 8 minutes at ambient temperature. The second mechanism is mild acid hydrolysis of the organic film layer. Oxalic acid's pH of approximately 1.3 at working concentration is sufficient to break the ester bonds holding polymerized organic film to the clear coat surface without attacking the clear coat polymer itself, which requires a much lower pH to degrade. This dual action mechanism is why oxalic acid removes contamination that iron removers, tar removers, and fallout removers each address only partially, because each of those branded products targets only one contamination category, while oxalic acid's chemistry crosses all four simultaneously. The detailing industry sells you 4 separate bottles for a problem that one $1 compound solves in a single pass. Here's exactly what to do, and the simplicity of this process is going to make every detail shop invoice you have ever paid feel like a personal insult. Step 1. Purchase food grade or technical grade oxalic acid powder from any hardware store, online bulk supplier, or wood bleaching product section. It is sold under the name wood bleach, deck brightener, or simply oxalic acid. A 1-pound bag costs between $6 and $10 and contains enough compound for 15 to 20 full vehicle decontamination treatments. Cost per treatment, approximately $0.50. Step 2. Mix 1 tablespoon of oxalic acid powder into 1 liter of warm water in a plastic bucket. Stir until fully dissolved. The solution will be clear and slightly acidic smelling. This is your working decontamination solution. Do not use a metal container. Oxalic acid will react with uncoated metal surfaces, plastic or glass only. Step 3. Wash the vehicle with standard car wash soap and rinse thoroughly. The vehicle should be clean of loose dirt and road grime before decontamination. Work in shade or when the panels are cool to the touch. Never apply the solution to hot paint in direct sunlight, as rapid evaporation concentrates the acid on the surface before it can be rinsed. Step 4. Apply the oxalic acid solution liberally to 1 panel at a time using a clean sponge or foam applicator. Work the solution across the entire panel surface in overlapping passes. You will notice the solution beginning to darken or show a slight orange-brown tint on heavily contaminated surfaces within 2 to 4 minutes. This is the chelated iron contamination being pulled out of the clear coat and into the solution. That color change is the chemistry working in real time. Step 5. Allow the solution to dwell on the panel surface for 3 to 5 minutes. Do not allow it to dry completely. If the panel begins to show dry edges, mist lightly with clean water to keep the working solution active. Step 6. Rinse the panel thoroughly with clean water, flushing the chelated contamination completely off the surface. Immediately wash the rinsed panel with standard car wash soap and rinse again. This final wash neutralizes any residual acid and removes the last traces of released contamination. Work through every panel on the vehicle in the same sequence. Step 7. After all panels are decontaminated and the vehicle is fully dry, run your hand across any panel. The surface should feel glass smooth. The roughness that was there before is the iron fallout and mineral contamination that the oxalic acid pulled out of the clear coat. The paint is now fully decontaminated and ready for wax, sealant, or ceramic coating application. Total material cost for a full vehicle decontamination, approximately $0.50 to $1. Total time, 45 to 90 minutes depending on vehicle size and contamination level. Critical safety notes. Wear nitrile gloves throughout the process. Oxalic acid is an irritant on prolonged skin contact. Do not use on matte or satin finish paint, on bare uncoated metal, or on rubber trim without diluting to half strength. Keep the solution away from eyes and wash hands thoroughly after use. Do not mix with bleach or chlorine-based products under any circumstances. Now you know what every professional detailer knows and charges $300 to perform. You know that the iron remover, the fallout remover, the tar remover, and the mineral deposit spray in the 4-product decontamination kit at the auto parts store for $85 can be replaced with a single tablespoon of a compound that costs $1 and has been decontaminating metal surfaces since the textile mills of 1820s England. You know that the dealership's $500 reconditioning package is built on chemistry that any person can replicate in their driveway with a plastic bucket and a sponge. The $15 billion detailing industry did not discover this compound after you did. They built their entire product category architecture specifically to make sure you would never look past the branded label and read the chemistry underneath it. But chemistry does not care about brand strategy. Oxalic acid chelates iron ions the same way in your driveway as it does in a professional detail bay, because it is a law of physical chemistry, not a proprietary trade secret. Share this video with every car owner you know who has ever handed $300 to a detail shop for a service they could have done themselves for $1. Subscribe if you want to keep pulling knowledge out of the vaults that billion-dollar industries have spent decades sealing shut. The next vault opens soon, and what is inside will make this one look like the opening act.